everybody, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and I know it's been a long time since I've been online. I've been kind of busy with a couple of things. Got a little bit of construction going on at my house, so it's been very difficult to try to get any videos done with all the noise and dust and just chaos in general. But I'm back to continue working on the Graphic 45 8.5 by 8.5 mini album featuring the Dreamland collection. And in the last video, I put together the two inside liners, and today we're going to start working on page 1. So I hope I have most everything cut out, so it'll go pretty quickly. So we're going to start with a pocket page, which I pre-assembled as part of just the base album build tutorial. So I'm not going to go over how to cover this, but if you go to the playlist, the base album build is part of the collection of this playlist for Dreamland. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sit down and we're going to get started. And gosh, I have to say I feel a little nervous. It's been so long since I've done a video. I feel very out of practice. So hopefully this will go well, and you guys will have something to work with here pretty soon. And I'm hoping I also got in here with everything I need, and it looks like it. So what are we doing on page 1? So page 1, and you've seen this in other albums that I've done before, we're going to have two flaps, a left and a right flap. So I'm just setting aside all the designer paper so we can see the actual base page. So, scooping that aside. So we have our 8x8 pocket page. We're going to have a left and right flap. And then on the very top of those flaps, we're going to have a pocket. And inside the pocket, we are going to use one of Graphic 45's large tags. Now the large tag is a little too long for the 8x8 album, so I'm going to be trimming these down a little bit, and I'll cover that when I get to it. But I noted that the rectangular regular tag's too short, and this one was too long, so I'm choosing to use the long one and trim it down a little. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get started by putting down first putting down the left and right flaps. And of course I didn't get the tape on, so I knew there'd be something. And where's my, here it is. I also wanted to share with everybody that we do have these in stock, and I think I mentioned it in the last video. This is a tape tear tool. So I had previously used something that was called an Omnigrid, which is used predominantly, I think, either in quilt making or certainly in the fabric space in general, and it had a lot of grid lines on it, and to me it was just a little too hard to look at. So with a friend of mine, Martha Jackson, she came up with this little template, or I provided a template, and she actually created this for me on one of her machines that cuts, a laser machine that cuts through acrylic. So what you see here are two lines. So there's the edge, and then the first line is an 1/8 inch mark, and the second line is a 1/4 inch mark. So I use those as reference just as I'm moving through the album, just to make sure things aren't drifting up or down. But then what I mostly use this for is to tear my tape. So enough of that. Let me show you how I use it. And like I said, these are available in our shop, and it comes with the pop socket and the base. And it was actually a tool that I developed kind of out of necessity, and used that Omnigrid just because that's what I had, and then put what I consider to be a handle on top. So I'm liking this a little better. Of course, if you have the Omnigrid, I mean, by all means continue to use it, but it was difficult for me. There was just too many grid lines on it in general. It was just very hard to pick a line and then try to stay on it. So I think this solid line, a solid simple line with just a couple reference lines works better for me. And those are really the only two measurements I used on the Omnigrid anyway, sorry for all the racket. So I just simplified it. And it's for sale in our shop, and I'm not going to tell you the price because I'm afraid my partner might change the price, and I'm not even sure what it is right now. But I can tell you it's cheaper than buying the Omnigrid. We made it more affordable than if you were going to buy the Omnigrid, which, by the way, isn't a very inexpensive piece of acrylic. It's kind of expensive for what you get. And it doesn't come with a pop socket. And I should have dry fit this first, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and make sure. Yeah, it looks good. Make sure that it's going to fit on the page. So the pocket is here, so I'm applying it to the left, so the spine side and the outside pocket space. And I'm just going as close to the edge as possible, squaring off the page itself. Okay, so that's one. We'll get the second one in. And then we'll actually get to start laying down some designer paper. I'm excited. So I've been very anxious to get on camera again, but there's just been too much noise. And I'm having my son's bathroom redone, and between the noise and the what feels like constant interruption, I just couldn't get anything done. So I was just dry fitting to make sure it's the same height and it's not going to hang over, and it looks good. Oops, that didn't grab. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we have these two bases in. So the next thing I want to do is apply these two pockets to the outside here. And I'm just doing them side by side to make sure there's no interference and it looks good. So I need to get some tape on here. There we go. So I also want to give you a heads up that it is an air show weekend here in San Diego. So I may get drowned out a couple of times today. I'm actually right in the flight path. I live very close to the base Miramar, just a couple miles away. And when they're looping around to come back over the air base, they actually come right over my house. So you may hear some of that. And it'll be unmistakable. It'll be quite loud if they come over. On Sunday, I'm not sure, but they have been doing it for the last couple of days. So just heads up on the noise, or the possible noise. Oh, and there goes a cloud taking out my sun. So I'm going to add a little artificial light here. There we go. Not the best. I prefer natural light, but I'm so far behind. I'm happy to be sitting down working at all. So, hey, I also want to let you guys know, I'm back to my jibber jabber self apparently. YouTube just came out with this new feature, which is way, way overdue in my opinion. As a content creator, I think most people, like myself, do their best to try to stay on top of comments. I always want to respond to you guys for a couple of reasons. One, if you have a question, I don't want it hanging out there. And two, oops, I didn't want that to happen. And two, sometimes you'll tell me or give me tips that I'm not familiar with. So I want to take advantage of that. So anyways, back to YouTube. YouTube just delivered, and it's still in test right now, this new feature that allows me to go look at all the comments that you guys have provided and narrow it down to the ones that I have not responded to, which up until now I've not been able to do. So if I miss something and a couple of weeks goes by, it's buried so low that it's hard for me to find. Anyway, so they just released this feature, limited, and fortunately I can see it. So some of you may be wondering, why am I responding to such old comments? And that is why, because I am going through and I'm making sure that I read every comment that was ever put out there. And if I somehow had missed it, I'm responding to it now. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I know it's old. Some of the questions I'm sure I've already answered or that you've moved on. But that's why you're finding these comments or responses from me that are 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 months old. Because I've missed things and I'm trying to go clean that up. So when I go look at comments that I've not responded to, they're relevant and new, and I'm up to date. So just a heads up. I've been working on that for the last 2 days, and it looks like I might be working on it for a little while longer because there are quite a few. But my goal is to get to all of them, and there's no need for you to respond. I just want you to know that I've gotten the comment and that I see it. So the other reason it's important for me to do that is the last reason, I guess, is YouTube has lots of algorithms that will help me get my word out and get me on other people's radar in terms of possible videos or recommendations. And one of the things that they consider when determining, how to make recommendations is, what the popularity of your channel is and whether or not you're actively responding to your audience. And so that's the other reason why I want to be up to date, because I want to be responding to my audience and I want to get the benefit from that. So just FYI, that's what's going on. If you see something come across that you know what, I didn't do a very good job making that even. So I'm going to have to come back and trim that piece out. Or am I? It's pretty close. I'm going to let you guys see. So if you look very closely, these two don't come across straight, but it's so close, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave it. But those are the kind of things that kind of bother me. If I wasn't so far behind schedule, I think I might actually undo this and redo it, but I am woefully behind schedule. Okay, so here's what I have planned. And I just realized this is what happens when I don't record for a while. I completely lose my mojo and forget how I did this. So I'm going to back up right now and tell you the two flap sizes. So this is a left and a right flap, and it's 4.5 by 8. 4.5 by 8. It's 8 inches this way, 4.5 across the top, and then you're going to score a 1/2 inch for the hinge itself. So that is the measurements of the left and right flap. So same measurement, you're going to need 4.5 by 8, score at 1/2 inch. For the bottom, I wrote it 2 different ways, 4 3/4 by 5 or 5, and so it's kind of funny that I wrote it both ways. But and I didn't write the score line, so I really am out of it. I have to retrain myself. So let's see. So it's 5 inches across and 4 3/4 length, and you're going to score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides. So again, it's 5 inches across, and you're going to score a 1/2 inch on either side of that 5 inches. So when you're done, you've got a 4 inch here, and then this is 4 3/4. You're going to score 1/2 inch, and you should have a finished panel of 4 1/4 by 4. So 4 1/4 by 4 when you're finished. And that's what these two things are for. And I apologize for not covering that before I started moving ahead to put down the designer paper. And I'll try to be mindful of that moving forward. Okay, so here's the picture that I chose. And I have to think about this, but I'm pretty darn sure that this is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. And when I go through the walkthrough, I'll verify that, but I'm pretty sure this is from the 12 by 12. Pretty sure it's from the 12 by 12 pack, but like I said, I'll verify that. And I'll try to cover that. All this was fresh in my mind a week and a half ago when I started this. When I'm going through the construction process moving forward, when I'm working with the Graphic 45 and I'm using a 12 by 12 collection pack and an 8 by 8, I'll try to tell you as I'm laying the designer paper down which one of the pads it came from. Of course, you can always substitute, but I'll at least tell you what I'm doing. So you can be cutting from the same pack. And I'm just gonna here we go. This will help me see my edges a little more clearly. All right, there we go. So there's one piece. So the other piece is going to go here, and I think I'm actually going to leave this like so I can actually make this line go straight across. And you'll see what I mean in just a second. Oh, and here's another reminder. and I sent an email out to all our subscribers on our shop page, but I'm going to let you guys YouTubers know, whether you buy from us or someone else, stock up on your art glitter glue. As soon as we get into the freezing temperatures or below 40, art glitter glue won't ship their product, and they won't warranty the product if we ship it. So stock up before it cools down. That's just a heads up. And also, this is the old format for the 4 ounce. The 4 ounce now comes in a longer, slimmer bottle, which is much easier, in my opinion, to handle. So I'm really liking the new format. I'm going to use up what I have, but I'm anxious to start using the new format, which was one of the reasons why I really liked the 2 ounce, was because I just like the size of the bottle in my hand. So if you didn't see what I was doing, I was using this edge and pushing it against the designer paper, and then pushing this one up so that we get that nice consistent line. It was especially important here because I had pointed out that the pockets aren't exactly the same size. So visually, I'm going to make up for that by making sure these 2 designer sheets are exactly lined up. So, and you can do that with anything that has a sharp, flat edge. Or of course, you can use one of these. Okay, so this is the cream cardstock. There's always 1 sheet in the collection pack, and most of the time I try to make use of it. Not always, most of the time. So that is what this is. And I want this to be fairly simple, and in a minute it'll be evident why. So I'm just double checking to make sure they fit and that I can slide them slightly inside the pocket. And I like that because when I go to put something in the pocket, it won't get hung up on the edge of the hinge if whatever's on top is just slightly over that edge. So once these are in, I am going to use these tags to go into the pocket. That's why it's okay to have this be so simple. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, all that looks good. So another thing I want to point out is I always ink my edges, and I use these Powder Puff ink pads, which I really like. They're called chalk ink. I like them for a lot of reasons. One of my biggest reasons is it doesn't transfer onto me like many other inks that I've used in the past. Also, you don't need a separate applicator. You can actually just apply it from the pad that's attached to the container. So that's just one less thing for me to keep track of. But what I was going to point out is I've inked the edges of the designer paper, but I did not ink the edges of the cream paper. I'm just not a huge fan of inking. Everybody's different, so that's personal preference, but I kind of like the crispness of a solid piece of paper here. So that's really entirely up to you, but I just wanted to point it out. All right, I am ready to get some glue on these. Oh, look, I have a little arrow that's telling me which way it goes. And I was gonna put it in the wrong way, I think. Sometimes I'll do that when the paper is, you know, not quite square. And this one was not quite square, and I almost did the same thing. So it actually fits better this way. So no pattern to tell what direction it is, so I just put that little cheat on the back. Okay. Oh, I have some other exciting news. So Janet Mueller is a subscriber from Australia. And I had exchanged some comments with her through YouTube, and then she came on over to our channel, and I was so excited to find out that she has family here in San Diego. So she's here now. Yay! Hi, Janet. And Janet is going to come to our retreat here in San Diego, and that is so exciting. She's our first international customer for the retreat, so that's kind of neat. She actually was going to head home, but then was able to change her plans so she can stay and play with us, so I'm kind of excited about that. So our retreats are really very small, quite quaint. We cap out at 25 people. Between the YouTube channel and the shop, it keeps us so busy with shipping and customer service that it's harder to get more time to plan larger events or to even get away for that long. It's usually kind of treacherous even to take that many days off from shipping. But anyways, they are fun, but they are small, and of course they sell out because they are so small. But I was really thrilled that she was able to make it, and I hope she has a good time with us. She was very knowledgeable, very nice. She used to own her own scrapbooking store and also taught classes, so we have a lot in common, which I think is pretty safe to say that's our whole community, right? Okay, that's in. How's it looking, guys? Looking good. So I also started taking apart and looking at and shuffling through the Life is a Journey paper, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm loving it. So I'm really anxious to get something going. So I've started kind of getting my head wrapped around what to do with that paper. So that's going to come next. And then after that, it's going to be a flip between either Romantique, La Romantique, which is another Graphic 45, the DCE that just came out, or maybe doing something with Stamperia. I'm not sure. Okay, so as you can see, this is too long for the pocket that I have here. The book is 8.5 inches. The pocket page is 8. So I'm going to need to trim something off this. So I'm going to turn it over, push it in, get it flat, and then I'm going to mark where I want to trim this. And I want it to come down just a little bit below this white paper. So I'll tell you how much I'm cutting off in just a second, because I didn't measure it. I just did what I showed you. I turned it upside down, but I'll tell you it is, I just took 1.5 inches off. So we're going to test that and see how it looks. And yes, I like it. So I wanted a little space up here, and that's how that's trimmed out. So I'm going to do the same thing here, only this time, instead of measuring it off the pocket, I'm just going to measure it off the tag. All right. So now from tip to bottom, it's about 7.5 inches. It's actually slightly less than that. So now I'm going to need to trim these down because I used the die to cut these, and that means these are too long as well. So these need to be trimmed down just a little bit. And I am going to use my pencil to mark it and trim it. And then we'll cover these tags. Okay, let's double check. How does that look? I think I should take a little bit more off, but it's very close. Very, very close. Okay. All right, now I need to ink this. I didn't do that after I took it out of the die. And I think I got in here without it, but this is the Graphic 45 large tag die. And it comes with a large tag and the very small ATC tag die, and then flower dies, which I've used also. And if I had my corner rounder in here, I'd probably round all these corners, but I don't have it handy, so I'm not going to stop to go get it. Tomorrow my house will be full of contractors and noisy again, so I need to get as much done today for you guys as I can. And that might mean taking a couple of short steps, like not going and getting my corner rounder. Okay. After all the noise I've had for the last 2 weeks, it's kind of eerie. It's so quiet now. All right. That looks so pretty. I haven't covered the back, and I think I'm going to, but I'm not going to do that right now because there's still a few pieces that need to be cut, and I don't know how much paper or which papers I have left yet. So for now, I'm going to just leave the back blank, which will be fine either way. But I think I will come back and cover it with something once I know really where I'm at in terms of paper. how much paper is left. Okay, we'll need to trim this one as well. So I'm going to lay this in, get it set. And here we go. Double check. Looks good. We'll ink it and glue it, get it down, and then we're gonna open our doors and then figure out where to put our magnets and also lay in the designer paper and wrap up page 1. As a heads up, page 2 is a waterfall page, I think. I actually designed page 2 and 3 to go together, but I can't decide which way I want them to go. If 2 is gonna be 3 or 3 is gonna be 2, I don't know. I'm gonna lay them out and we're gonna decide together. Oops, I forgot. No, I got it. I'm good. I'm about ready for glue myself because it can tell it's getting thicker on me. When I get down to the bottom of a 4 ounce, it starts to get a little thick because it takes a while to go through a 4 ounce bottle. All right, let's see what else is going on, guys. I can't really think of a whole lot. The weather's really beautiful here right now. And I am excited about our retreat, which is at the end of October, so that's right around the corner. And I don't usually do this, but I always do make and takes for the retreat, but I don't usually do a YouTube for them, and I think this time I'm going to. So I'm going to do a couple of small videos with cards that we're going to use for the make and take. There we go. I want to make sure it's not getting hung up on the, there it is. So this one is getting hung up on the hinge down here that's holding the pocket together. So I just need to get it to go on top of that. That's why it's so much taller. There we go. There we go. After I train it a few times, it'll want to slide in the right place. Okay, so just get this on because it's drying out on me. That is the front of page 1. I am going to put something on these grommets. I just don't know what yet. And this collection has been so popular, I had to give up my charms and my ribbon to Julie to ship to a customer. So as soon as we get some more stuff in and before I finish and do the walkthrough, I'll come back and show you what I'm gonna do. But I'm thinking of 2 ribbons with maybe a little charm dangling off each one. I just think that's pretty. Okay. Here we are, lots of space to work with. So I think this is what I had planned, I'm pretty sure, yeah. So this is what I used on the front here, and then this is just the flip side. And again, this is 12 by 12. From the 12 by 12. So you could use either side. Here's what I'm planning to do as far as the flaps. Just 2 very simple flaps. So we have, that's one side, and there's the flip side. And I actually think I'm gonna go with this, and here's why. I like this pattern better, but I think I'd have a hard time putting a picture on it. So I'm gonna flip it over, and then I won't have to struggle so much to put a picture on it. So this is going to be the completion of page 1 once we get these down. Now I've pre-inked everything. I'm just gonna go through and dry fit, make sure everything's looking good before I apply some glue. Yeah, I think so, but let's just double check. There is a cut list in the description, so if you click, or if you scroll, let me back up. Maybe I had too much coffee. Just underneath the video box itself, there is a description, and there's usually just a little blurb about the shop and maybe a link to our website, which is our shop. Then there it says show more. If you click the show more and scroll down, the first thing you're going to see is material list, what it took to make this album. with some links to our shop, and we hope you consider buying from us, but it's not required, right? And then keep scrolling and you're going to come to the cut list, and the cut list will cover everything that's interactive about this album. It does not cover the base album itself. For the base album, go back to the playlist, find the base album tutorial, and it will have all the build components for the pocket pages, the covers, the spine, the hinge, and all of that. So what you're going to find in terms of a cut list under this video is just the interactive pieces that are sitting on top of an 8.5 by 8.5 base album. It's a little bit confusing, I know, but it really saves me a lot of time not having to rebuild the 8.5 by 8.5 generic book for every album for you guys. So I appreciate your patience, but go to the playlist and it should be in order. You should have a walkthrough, a base album build, whatever size it is. In this case, it's 8.5 by 8.5. And then when it says tutorial 1, that's the tutorial that's adding the flaps and pockets and the designer pieces. If you scroll down in the description of the tutorial 1, that's where you'll find these flap and pocket measurements, okay? All the tutorials are organized the same way. So once you figure it out for one, you've got it mastered for all. And I encourage you to use the playlist and save yourself some time so you're not searching around for the videos. They're all grouped together. So there's usually 4 tutorials per album, and they're all in one place for you to use. So you can just go one video to the next and not have to go searching for, you know, tutorial 2 or tutorial 3. They're right there. So please do take advantage of that. And the way to get to those playlists is from our channel page, go to Scrap and Create, and right underneath our banner, there's a couple of menu options, and one of them is playlist, and click on that, and every project we've ever done has got a playlist with, you know, anywhere from 3 to 6 videos associated to it, and the playlists are titled with the paper that's used. So that should help you. If you've got some paper and you're trying to figure out what to do with it, of course you can use any one of our tutorials, but if you have some that's specific, like a graphic collection, look up that name, and there's a good chance, if it's been released in the last 2 years, that we have a tutorial building a mini album with it. And we also have Stamperia and some Ciao Bella as well. And they're just all in order. The way they're listed on there, they're in order by the most recent one is the one you're going to see first. There's also a tips and... Oops, had to double check, make sure I was putting glue on the right side. There's a tips and tools tutorial, and there's not much in there, but one of the things that's in there is how to use an edge die in your albums, which has been kind of popular, but if you haven't seen it, take a look. It's really quick. I think it's 15 minutes, maybe less, on how to use an edge die and how to get your designer paper to mat perfectly on top of the edge die once it's trimmed out. So hopefully that'll be of benefit. Oh my gosh, you guys, I've been jabbering and I didn't put my magnets in. How could you let me do that? Sorry about that. Too much jabbering. Okay, I need to figure out how I'm going to keep this closed. Dummy. Okay, I'm going to need 2 magnets, and I have to figure out how to get them here. So I'm probably going to put a designer strip that splits this so that I can get a magnet behind it. So as you can see, you can always figure out a way around it, but it's best to keep your mind on what you're doing in the first place. Do what I say, not what I do. Sorry about that, guys. So hopefully you're not doing exactly what I'm doing, and you're at least a few minutes behind me so you don't make the same mistake. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stick these down because, like I said, I'm gonna put a decorator strip across to mask it. So now, I do want them, because the strip is gonna cover it, I want them in the same place. So I'm gonna make a quick reference line. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna center it. It's 8 inches, so we're gonna put a strip in at 4 inches. on both sides. Dum-dum. That's okay. I think it'll actually look better with a strip across it instead of just a solid panel, but it's not like we have a choice anymore. Okay, now I'm going to put the matching line on the other side. All right. Having a hard time getting my ruler flat. There we go. Here we go. Okay, so we'll know we're going to put a magnet somewhere on that line. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Keep picking up the magnet. Two, three, four. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so we are looking good. Okay, I'm just gonna put it toward the edge, not too far out so that I'm worried about buckling. Cover my glue, buckling the edge of whatever strip I put over it. So I'm not gonna put it too far to the edge, so maybe right about there. So 2/3 across. And if you're a little bit behind me, you don't have to do this at all. You just put it under this panel, right? And I'm just using my reference line to center, and like I said, I'll put a 1 inch or 1.5 inch strip over it when I'm finished. It's not the right one. Here we go. Okay, now we need to find where to locate these. So thank goodness I caught it before that took hold. Silly me. Good night. Like I said, I'm just kind of lost it. I'm out of the groove. Okay. Okay, I'm going to cover all 4 of these with some tape to soften the edges. It's very helpful. I'm just going to put a big piece across here. You know, the glue doesn't want to dry on the metal, so it ensures that adhesion to whatever you put on top of it, and that there's not a bubble over your magnet. Okay, it's a do-over. It's a do-over. And then putting glue over the tape right now, the tape is extremely tacky, so if any part of this paper goes down on the tape in the wrong spot, you can't lift it, it'll tear the paper. So I always, when I'm doing something like this, I want to get glue on the tape so I've got a few minutes to torque it into place. Which I might need, or will probably need. It sounds very crunchy because of the dry glue. That'll get better, but Okay. Well, there you go. Coming along. Get all these straight edges out of the way. Now, we need to find a strip to go over this. So, I am going to look first at some, here's a little basket that I have that helps me stay organized. So what I'm going to look at first is whether or not I've got a scrap that I can use that'll fit without, you know, having to cut into a big piece of paper. So I'm going to try a couple of different things while you guys are with me here, and we will find something together. So one of the options is this, which is off the 12 by 12, and here's a larger piece of it. Actually, this is the 8 by 8. So on the flip side of this paper, there are these cut aparts, and this one is actually, you can see the difference. So this is from the 12 by 12, and this is from the 8 by 8. And I like the 12 by 12 size better, but I'm not sure I like it. So I'm gonna keep looking and see if I like something better. It's too busy. So really, I think because of this paper, yellow or blue is what I'm looking for. Oh, here's an option too. Yellow or blue is what I'm looking for. And I think I like this one. So now I'm going to find another piece of it. It's on the orange pattern paper. So let's see if I can't find another strip of that. There it is. Okay. So this is actually part of the, this is from the 8 by 8 pad. So it's one of the strips from the 8 by 8 pad. That's what I'm going to use to cover this up. So hang tight. I'm going to get this trimmed off, and I'm trimming it right below the blue line. Okay. So it was like this. So you can see I've got the stars just on this side. So if you're going to do the same thing, or you may have already put it under the panel, but if you did the same mistake, this is the trim line where I'm cutting, which is just below that dark blue with the gold stars. So now we need to shorten it so that it fits on here widthwise. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay, looks good. I'm gonna get some ink on that. So you can either put it down as is, or you can put some black cardstock behind it and mat it, which looks nice also. So your other option too is to just glue down the sides and have it be a belly band. I think I'm going to glue it down completely, just because I don't want anything slipping through here and catching on the magnet, even though it's covered with double-sided tape. I'm worried that something might get hung up on it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down firmly. Let me trim this piece out first. And see if that fits. Yes, it does. Okay, get some ink on this. So before I put it down, I'm actually going to put, this is trimmed off from the tag. I'm just going to set it behind it and lay it down here and look what it looks like matted. I wouldn't use this piece, but can you see how it kind of pops more than this? In fact, I like it so much, I'm going to stop here and go get some black paper so I can do that, because I just think that makes it look so much better. And I think it'll also soften the look of the magnet that's behind it. So I'm gonna pause for a second, go get some black paper and be right back. Okay, I'm back. So people often ask me, and since I'm getting ready to do it, I'll share with you, what do you do with all your scraps? Well, I save them for either photo mats or scraps that I can use to back things like stickers and small strips. So I save almost everything. Some of it, sometimes it gets out of hand. I go through and I get rid of anything that's shorter than 4 inches and narrower than an inch. But even oftentimes that is still large enough to use on a sticker if I want to stiffen the sticker up instead of just applying the sticker directly. And one of the reasons I like to put stickers on black cardstock is I like to fussy cut around them because I like the look. But the other reason is the stickers don't seem to want to stay down. They want to peel back up. I don't know what it is about the adhesive, but it doesn't feel permanent. So if you are going to put stickers directly on your album, I would recommend adding glue to it as well, because it will peel up. Oops. Okay, and because this is so small, I am going to trim it by hand because it won't fit in my trimmer very well. So I'm going to show you real quick. So you can see I didn't really leave a black border on here, and the reason is because I've trimmed it so that the black border is going to be exposed from this mat anyway. And if I added another black border, it would be inset. So just FYI. Okay. Not very elegant, it's just a box cutter, but my X-Acto knife is so dull I can't use it right now. So, there you go. And I don't know what it is about X-Acto knives, but they don't seem to stay sharp as long as my box cutter. Also, when my box cutter gets dull, I take a fingernail file and sharpen the edge, and a blade will last me years. Oh, here it is. I was trying to find my pick tool. All right, so I'm going to lay one down, and then I'm going to get a straight edge to carry it across to get the other one in the same position. And there's my 1 inch or my 4 inch reference line, and I'm going to center it on this. But you could go up or down. But I'm just going to try to center it. There we go. Okay. Problem solved, right? There it is. The other reason I wanted to trim the black level is I don't want that any of that to get into the hinge area. So that's the other reason why it's a little bit shorter. Okay, I might actually have enough left of the scrap I cut off. I do. So that's perfect. So I'll get this adhered and then I'll trim the other side. Okay, get my straight edge, and I just need to take a little sliver off. This is always a little challenging, especially if you're using a cork back, because the cork doesn't go all the way to the edge. So what I would recommend is using a flat edge that is totally flat. I do not like using this particular ruler because the blade can cut into it, but if I don't, the paper underneath it could shift. And I just had a panic attack that I forgot to turn the video on, but it's running, so yay. All right, we're almost, I promise we're almost done with page 1. Okay. And what I usually do is number my pages and put the spine orientation on them when I get started. And I didn't do that, but I am going to moving forward. I didn't do it for page 1, but I am gonna mark page 2 and which side the spine is supposed to be on, so that I don't get anything in upside down. Okay. I'm just gonna do a little housekeeping here, and then we're gonna walk through what I've done. Okay, so this is the inside of page 1, and here's the closed position. And like I said, there's nothing on the back of the tags, but I'll probably come back and put something on them once I finish the album and know what kind of scraps I have left. I am gonna put some ribbon here, but I had to give up my ribbon because it was so popular we were actually running out of ribbon to give to the customers. So I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. This is page 1. There's the pocket. This will be the spine side. So this is page 2. And when we come back, we'll get started on page 2. But I'm gonna leave you with one more thing before I go. And that is, this is page 2. This is the spine, so that when I come back and sit down, I keep track of where the spine is, where the pocket side is, and what page number I'm on. I'm gonna go ahead and number the rest of my pages as well. But I'm done for now. I'm gonna go get this uploaded, and then I'll be back with page 2. Bye.